Let's actually ask Vincenzo that question now then. So how would you assess the impact of COVID-19 in your credit control system or policy at various phases? And how would you recalibrate or adjust the score in a timely manner? Since Ben's actually answered that question.
Okay, well, first, at CRIF, we actually don't give credit. We advise, we provide information and advice and data and analytics to companies that provide credit. So we actually wouldn't, we don't have credit control system policies at CRIF, but in advising our clients on how to adapt to different phases, recalibrate and score, I would go back to some of the points that I made before. Again, look at a sector as an impact, because right now sector does have an impact. Look at long-term trends. I mean, the score by definition already takes into account trends, but we need to understand that this year was a disconnect within that trend. So we need to, the score itself might not be able to correctly read that disconnect. And what I mentioned in the first page, understand which of the three scenarios are you in. Is it a company that's getting money from the government? Is it a company that just laid low? Is it a company that continued to survive during pandemic because they're good? So you need to move away from, let's say, more, before we got scores that were so good and so predictive that we kind of let the score itself being a decision. But I always like to remind ourselves that you start with data, and when you have too much data, you don't know what to do with it. You need to move to analytics, which is a summary of that data into a score. But then when you have too many scores, you need decisioning, which is, okay, what do I do with that score? So the scores have been so good lately that the decisioning was almost immediate. You could just do an equation saying, if score is X, then decision is yes, no, maybe, okay? I think now we need to move slightly away from automatic decisioning, a little bit more into interpretation of what an analytical tool is telling us. So I don't have a magic solution for this, but I think that taking, a little bit more thought into the process rather than automatic decisioning is probably the way that it would go.
Okay. I totally agree with Vincenzo on one particular thing. This is the trend thing. In the past, I've seen a lot of people when they are doing evaluations, when they are doing analytics, they pinpoint on certain time period, and then try to analyze the data so in depth, and then try to make a decisions. But this is not the right way, I would say. The right way is you should look at the trend, a simple ratio, a simple quick ratio, a simple current ratio, whatever you have looked into the trend of it. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it, staggering in certain area? This is something what Vincenzo just said, this is something I've been thinking a lot of time, Why would you want to analyze a company at certain period of time? That's it, instead of the whole picture looking at the trend. Okay, a trend analysis should be the future credit evaluation focus, which I believe is important. This is something I just heard what he said, so I.
Okay. So thank you all for that very constructive discussion on that and the points raised.